Hi, everybody. This is Neil Allen, the creator of the comic series Zatswan Multiversal Guardian, which you can read at zatswan.com, and the link for that is in the video description. And today I am once again talking about the Green Lantern John Stewart comic, Green Lantern War Journal. And this isn't new news or anything. I'm not breaking anything here, but the series has been, it will be canceled at issue 12, so it won't be going any more beyond that. And I looked online at people's reactions to it, and they're predictable, saying like, "Oh, it's a shame," and like, "I can't believe this is happening," as if that was some kind of surprise. Like, I was never really surprised by this at all, and this is a good example to talk about, more of the issues with DC Comics and Marvel Comics. And before we get into that, I just want to give you a disclaimer. I don't really have an agenda, really, behind bringing this out. I'm not saying that the companies are going to roll over and die within the next 2 months or anything like that. I'm not trying to like grift a product onto you. I'm just kind of getting my thoughts out there, and also telling you kind of why I made the choices that I did. So if you get something out of this, then great. I hope you do. But it is kind of, to me, just kind of giving my own thoughts on the issue. So this is a good example of why I stopped reading DC Comics, because you don't really know what's going on. There's a lack of transparency as far as the duration of many of the series these days, and there is a lack of continuity as well. And I brought my girlfriend, or my girlfriend joined me for the last video that I made, and we discussed like why people don't read DC Comics. And this again plays into that. And it's the issue that I'm really getting at here is that over and over again, DC is like showing you that, and Marvel, that you can't, they're bad investments. That's what I'm saying. And I'm not even talking about in the monetary sense, even though I don't think a lot of comics you're going to get today are going to be great investments in that arena. But as far as your time, your emotional energy, and yes, even in the monetary sense, even though I was talking more about a long-term asset, that you might want to invest in. But even just as far as you putting your money in just for enjoyment, this isn't a good investment, because the editorial over there is so bad that you just have there's no stability over there, no trust, no reason to buy their products. So, for example, what's going on in War Journal, you have no idea. If John Stewart does get a series after this sometime, the issue here is you have no idea really whether what is going on in this current War Journal comic is going to matter a lick or will be followed up on. It's like this Philip Kennedy Johnson writer is trying to do stuff with John Stewart, trying to give him kind of more things that are distinctive to his character, because he has very little because of lack of development. So he's trying to develop the character a bit more, but in the end, it's like, what difference does that make when the next writer is going to come on and basically put the character back at square one, not use much of anything that was established in War Journal, and the character, none of the stuff is being followed up on, so the character doesn't really develop. He's like a hamster running on a treadmill. And that's why I stopped reading Green Lantern and reading John Stewart. See, with me on my particular journey, it happened here with this particular book, Green Lantern Lost Army. Sometimes, as you can see on this title, or on this book, it's called Green Lantern Corps Lost Army. So this was back when I was heavily invested in Green Lantern and in this character and in his story. And this was probably in 2016, I'm guessing. That's probably when I really jumped off the train with DC Comics. So it was written by Cullen Bunn, and I think Cullen Bunn had a falling out with DC. I have some reason to think so. And so he was writing this Lost Army story, which kind of started out of nowhere. It didn't pick up on what previous Jon Stewart writer Van Jensen was doing. Again, another problem. It just kind of started out all of a sudden. You don't know what's going on. But that was one of the hooks of the series, this mystery that was going on. So there was a part of me that was sad to see previous writer Van Jensen and artist Bernard Chang on Green Lantern Corps. There was a bit of sadness seeing them leave, but I was again a big Jon Stewart, a big Green Lantern fan. I was open to seeing where this Lost Army story was going to go, and I was buying it and I was following it, and I was really keeping up with anything, Jon Stewart and Green Lantern that I could. I even had a website about this where I would, write long, in-depth articles about the character Green Lantern and his adventures. So I was reading this Lost Army story. It lasted 6 issues. We weren't told it was going to be a 6-issue miniseries. DC wasn't transparent about that with the readers. And I think one of the reasons why maybe one of the big reasons DC's not transparent with readers about the length of a series is because they don't know. They don't know themselves, which is a problem. So anyway, this Lost Army lasted 6 issues. None of the mysteries, these giant mysteries, because the whole story was kind of a mystery. That was the main hook. None of it was answered at all. It just abruptly ended. And then following that was a series by Tom Taylor and Ethan Van Sciver called Green Lantern Corps Edge of Oblivion, which was supposed to kind of follow up Lost Army. And so I was like, I don't know why they're doing this. I don't know why the company is making this change again, but whatever. I'm a big Green Lantern fan. I'm a big Jon Stewart fan. I'm on board with it. I'll pick it up. Remember, I was kind of like these comics fans that I talk about in that video with my girlfriend. You can go watch that one. I do recommend it. One of these comics fans that will put up with just about anything. The stories don't have to make sense. The continuity doesn't have to. Well, actually, you know what? I wasn't. Because that was the breaking point. This Edge of Oblivion didn't follow up on anything that Lost Army was establishing. The mysteries in Lost Army, totally forgotten, not addressed. The events in Lost Army, only vaguely addressed at all. And I was kind of left what am I reading here? This doesn't make any sense at all. And I thought to myself about that had a big effect on me. Remember, I'd spent I don't know how much money on DC Comics and Green Lantern stuff and Jon Stewart stuff. Followed the stories. I had, like I said in a previous video about War Journal, I had all of Jon Stewart's major appearances and even minor ones. I went on Comic Find to see all the issues that he appeared in. Believe it or not, I did this. And then I went on eBay and I was buying them up. So even these minuscule appearances of his, I would collect those as well. I was a very passionate fan, and we know, if we're not fans like that ourselves, you watching this, people who are, what it's like. And so I was like that. And I was looking, and I was really contemplating this incident that happened with Lost Army and Edge of Oblivion. And I was and I had this website, that was dedicated to Green Lantern, where I wrote all these articles and stuff. And I said to myself, I took a real critical look at myself and at DC and the situation that was going on. I was very displeased with it because, think about it, DC Comics, you really have one job, right? Your main job. And some would argue it's the best job in the world. Your job is to tell stories. That's what you do. That's all you do. You tell stories. And I'm thinking to myself, what story other than these comics here, which are really weird with all their events and all their interruptions, events just pop out of nowhere, and you could be trying to read something and then all of a sudden you're caught up in a tie-in or with some other event somewhere. It's like, where did all this come from? What other storytelling medium like works like this, to where the stories literally don't make sense? And honestly, they don't have to make sense, because you still have a lot of these people out here buying and supporting this type of dysfunction. And I'm like, this isn't right. I'm trying to read a story here. I've put up with your weird events. Like, I'm just trying to read a story and have it make sense. And suddenly I got to buy like 50 other books to make the story make sense. I'm like, I kind of put my foot down there, and I was like, no, I'm not doing this. I took a critical look at myself, and I took a critical look at the comics, and I reasoned, Neil, you know what? This stuff here matters more to you than to the people actually getting paid to curate it and make it. And then I thought to myself, well, if this stuff doesn't matter that much to them, to where they can't even tell a coherent narrative with it, they literally couldn't, or they couldn't be bothered to, rather. If this stuff doesn't matter that much to them, what kind of sucker are you putting your time, money, and emotional investment in it, having this big website dedicated to it? And, I really thought about that. And then I decided that I'm not doing this anymore. Like, if I'm going to, what I was going to do is, I took all that energy that I put into something like DC Comics and Marvel and Green Lantern and all these other characters. I took all that energy and I invested it in something that I can feel a lot more secure in, which was my own creations, which became Zatswan. And I'm not telling you here, like, the goal of this isn't to tell you, like, don't read their comics, read mine instead. Although if you want to do that, great. Like, I'm really happy about that too. But that's not like my real sole purpose here. That's not like an ulterior motive. I'm just kind of telling you, like, what happened with me, how I got here, and I'm just seeing the same cycle repeating itself over and over again. And I'm just telling you, like, why I don't invest in this stuff. It's because of reasons like this. The lack of transparency. You don't even know what you're getting into. How long is this thing going to be? Is it going to be an ongoing adventure? Is it going to be a miniseries? It's like, it's good for people to know what they're going to be investing in. But no, DC likes these companies, they like to play tricks, because, they like to deceive people or be vague with people, because they're like, well, if it's a miniseries, then people won't order as much. And also too, we don't know. Like, we don't know. We'll see whether it's a miniseries or not. But I see the reasoning behind it, but this all kind of lends towards a dysfunctional kind of environment, where you're just trying to read a story and you literally have no assurance that story is going to matter, going to be concluded, going to be followed up on, or any of that. And I was like, no, like, I need a little more like, this is my time again. This is my time. This is my energy. This is my money. I need more stability than that. So I exited stage left from DC. I sold my valuables. Like, I still have like tons of, like, a good amount of comics and complete runs and stuff, but that's because I just didn't feel like I could just, like, sell them quick enough, or I didn't feel like bothering with it. So, like, my valuable first appearance type of issues, big action figure collection, I managed to get rid of. Sold all that stuff, and honestly, I'm not just saying this, but I really don't regret it. It's not even one of those things where, like, I feel more freed and liberated. No, not even that. It's just like, I sold it and moved on and really don't regret it. And yes, I am in a more happy place, like, working on my own comics, which is like a Green Lantern type of thing. So if you do like Green Lantern, then there's a good chance you'll end up liking Zatswan too. And I can give you assurance myself as the creator that the story is going to make sense. You're going to get more Zatswan. It's going to come out. I'm not going to just leave people high and dry. And I think if you've seen what I've already accomplished with it, then you can tell that this person, there's something behind what he's saying, because I've done as much of it as I have. That's kind of, you know, that's kind of the thing about it. It's not like I just did a little bit here and disappeared. So there's more of that on the way. So going back to War Journal, I made a previous video about Green Lantern War Journal, and the stuff I'm saying is um, even more significant than it was then. I don't read Green Lantern War Journal. Like I said, I kind of got off. Like, somebody asked me what I thought about it, because I did used to be like a really big Green Lantern fan. I don't read it, and the reason I don't read it is because of all the stuff that I told you. That's like probably the main reason I actually. But then, I like to keep an eye on things, on what's going on with comics, and just to see if most of the reason why I keep an eye on things is because I still do read forums and comment sections and discussions. Like, I still do that. That's still entertaining enough for me. It's more entertaining than reading the actual comics. The comics are just frustrating to deal with. So I still do what I enjoyed. And I don't do what I don't enjoy, which was like reading the comics. So I still see people talking about this, and I still see news updates about it. And I like to give things a chance. Like, I do my standards and boundaries are like higher now than they were then. So I like to give things like a chance. Um, so I did look at War Journal. I didn't buy it. I looked at it and I'm like, this character is in a button-up shirt and he's basically out of costume for 3 issues. And I just went from issue to issue to issue, and he was always out of costume. I'm like, that's not appealing to me. And don't sit here and act like that doesn't matter, or that I'm being frivolous or something like that. If the suit didn't matter, then all these superheroes wouldn't be having suits. If the suit didn't matter, why are people having these big debates about Superman wearing his underwear on the outside? No, that stuff matters. That's like why a big reason, like why a lot of us come to these books. You know what I mean? Why a lot of us are drawn to superheroes. Why when a movie comes out, a new hero movie comes out, and they reveal the suit, it's like a big reveal and everybody's talking about it. That all of that is going on because the suit actually matters. So get this book is only 12 issues long. Now we know that now. For a quarter of it, the dude's in the suit's not apparent. He's in a button-up shirt, and this reminds me of the Jeffrey Thorne run on Green Lantern, which preceded this one directly, where he had the guy depowered for like a quarter of the run, and that was stupid too. This is not as bad as that, but also I would say unwise. Like, if I was an editor, I would say do something about this. This has to do also with the pacing of these stories. I understand wanting to work on the character, like the character aspects of John Stewart, but you don't have to have him lacking the Green Lantern suit for that long. I think that was an unwise choice, and it was enough to get me not to want to read the comic book. I'm not necessarily saying that my view is right. My opinion is the opinion. Other people, I'm sure, feel different, and that's fine. But what this really comes down to is really bad editorial. Like, where are you finding these people? Like, to where the continuity doesn't even have to make sense. This War Journal, my estimation, and it is definitely an educated estimation, is that once this series is done, probably not going to matter that much. This Revenant Queen that excuse me, that John Stewart's fighting, wouldn't be surprised if she never shows up again. The family, I wouldn't be surprised if they don't show up again. I'm not saying that it's going to happen like that, but based on the track record of these comics, it's like that's kind of like where I like see it going, because that's exactly what this one was like. The stuff in here you never heard about again, really. The following comic, Edge of Oblivion, it didn't really follow this up, really. And it's like, come on, guys, have some think about it a bit. Like, think about your standards, really. Think about like what you're paying for, what you're willing to put up with. Are you really, think about that? Are you really willing to put up with stories that make no sense? I was not, but again, people can do what they would like. But what I am also shining a light on is this is another big reason why people don't bother with this stuff, because most people won't put up with that. The only people that will put up with that are the regular buyers of these comics, and they are putting up with it because they're in kind of a dysfunctional relationship many times with these characters. Think about that. The stories, they don't have to function right. They don't have to make sense. Yet people still regularly will go out and pay for this stuff, I guess because they have to see these characters. And that's okay and everything. Like, that's great if that's what like people really like. But I think the point I'm trying to illustrate here is like, most consumers looking for stories, they're not going to put up with that. They're going to like say, hey, this doesn't make sense. I don't like these tie-ins everywhere that are interrupting the story I'm trying to read, and all these, things going on. This is just another thing contributing to just people not wanting to read these comics. And I'm a perfect example. Like, I don't want to read these comics either, and I'm telling you the reasons why. And I would put this down to really, really poor editorial, which we can go into a whole other video about. It's like, where are you getting these people? It's like, I guess they're getting a lot of them from like these comics journalism sites. I will probably save a lot of this material for another reason, discussing the editorial in these companies, because it's really, really bad. And I think that, if you really get strong editorial in there, you can probably, turn a lot of this around maybe, but a lot of damage has been done and goodwill has been lost. But we'll save some of that for another time. Thanks for listening, and be sure to check out my own comic, Zatswan Multiversal Guardian, at zatswan.com. Link in the video description. If you like Green Lantern, you're probably going to like Zatswan a lot, because there are a lot of similarities. And this is a topic I can go into for later too. I went to do Zatswan because specifically because of this book. Specifically, not so much this one, but the following one, Edge of Oblivion. That situation was so dissatisfying to me. I was like, you know what? I know I can do a better job than this type of stuff. It's like, I did have a want for something like this, but I wanted it to be good and to make sense. So I was like, well, then, that's just a thing you're going to have to do yourself. So check that out in the video description area, and I will talk to all of you again very soon. Take care.